It's time to go beyond the headlines, cause I don't put in overtime just so I can headline, okay. Now it's Fox Sports, I'm live with Renee. Going hard every day, sports rapping every play. Different segments for your favorites, coming at you daily. With positive vibes, yeah, we some game changers. Basketball, football, soccer, with different interviews, you never know who may pop up. Listen, only on Beyond the Headlines, this is Beyond the Headlines. Only on Beyond the Headlines, this is Beyond the Headlines. Only on Beyond the Headlines, this is Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington.
You tuned into our special Super Bowl edition of Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington last week, and the champs were crowned. For the first time in 50 years, it is the Kansas City Chiefs. So talking about all that led up to the 31-20 win, we have Jimmy Durkin, the managing editor at The Athletic Bay Area. So Jimmy, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Renee.
I'm happy to have you here. So what a game. Honestly, it definitely lived up to the expectation that I had. I knew it was I thought at least 10 points at the most, which is, what we had, and that it would be less than that. Nothing like what we see in the last year with the snooze fest of the Patriots-Rams Super Bowl. Didn't think it'd live up to the excitement of the Eagles Super Bowl as a Philly fan, because nothing can unless it's the Eagles winning. But your initial takeaway from the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl and their Super Bowl championship win over the 49ers.
Yeah, I think it was the game we all expected. The 49ers defense for 3 quarters looked every bit like what you thought they could be. They were shutting down. They were making Patrick Mahomes look human, which nobody has really done since he's become a starter in this league. And then the fourth quarter was Patrick Mahomes being the guy we've seen, the guy who can lead touchdown drives in a blur, can 3rd and 15, can just drop back and heave a ball to Tyreek Hill. And this is kind of everything we expected. I think we got to see, the 49ers defense dominate for a while, but Patrick Mahomes, he is just such a special player. He's shown it really from the moment the Chiefs gave him the opportunity to be a starter. And I honestly think he probably should be a 2-time Super Bowl champion by now. If you look back to last year, take away the D Ford offsides call late in that game, and they beat the Patriots, and they probably go on to win the Super Bowl. So really a pretty special start to the career for Patrick Mahomes. I think this probably will not be his last title, and you gotta appreciate Andy Reid being able to get his first one after all these years.
Yes, finally, the pressure is off. He was the winningest coach that has never won a Super Bowl. And for Andy Reid, I know as an Eagles fan, I've talked about him a lot lately, because that's partly why I was rooting for the Chiefs. I wanted him to finally get his Super Bowl. He is a tremendous coach. He deserved it. And for everyone on the Chiefs, whether it's Patrick Mahomes, who's had a spectacular season coming back from injury, where a lot of people counted him out, and here he is, a Super Bowl champ, to just the fact that the Chiefs are a team that, as we know, hasn't been here in 50 years. And they're back, they won, and it was definitely, as you mentioned, almost a tale of 2 games, where the first 3 quarters, the 49ers looked like they were gonna walk away with it. But something you mentioned, defense. And that's ironically that we're saying the defense was a game changer, because the Kansas City Chiefs coming into this season, defense was their Achilles heel. That was something that they had to adjust. They had the strong offense led by Patrick Mahomes. They had the coaching in place, but defense was always a question mark. And we saw them down the stretch make 2 huge plays at the end of the game to clinch the win, and now they're champions. Talk to us about their ability to stop the 49ers offense, which their run game has been strong all season. And we'll get into their some decisions that we saw on the offensive side for the 49ers. But the Kansas City Chiefs defense showed that they are here, and they're not to be taken lightly. That's for sure.
Yeah, when you have a guy like Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce and all the talent on offense and the coaching that you combine that all, they've always just needed to have a competent defense. And
Absolutely.
that's what they finally had this year. Steve Spagnuolo came in as defensive coordinator, and you have a guy like Chris Jones, who came into the postseason, banged up. He got healthy in time, and he was obviously a huge difference maker. There was that one third down pass to George Kittle that he bats down. He batted down, I think, 3 passes in the fourth quarter. Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, obviously such a versatile weapon in that secondary, can do so much that this defense was underrated, maligned for all, especially last year when they were, I think, 31st, 32nd defensively. And the second half of this season, they got pretty good, and they came in, obviously the first two playoff games, they allowed the Chiefs to get into some big deficits, but they can make some plays when they need to. And when you're that good and that explosive offensively, that's all you need. And I really thought Chris Jones just kind of terrorizing the middle of the 49ers offensive line, which is a weakness for the Niners. That was such a huge difference in this game, because once he was able to bring that pressure up the middle and knock down some passes and just really kind of make things tough on the Niners, that helped change the tone of the game.
Yeah, that's that's a thing. This is what made this year so spectacular. Not that this has been any different from the past, but it's two teams that we haven't seen here. Of course, the 49ers have been here more recently in their loss to the Ravens, but, it's not the usual suspects, and it's guys that are playing in their first Super Bowl. You had a number of rookies with the 49ers that we'll get into a little later that stepped up and don't even look like rookies by any means. I don't know how my Eagles missed out on all of them, but okay. But they're just, what makes it so fun to watch is when you see those moments, as you mentioned, with Jones, where players are stepping up to make special plays that are game-changing plays. And for the 49ers offense, which we know they've had, they got to the Super Bowl for a reason. Their offense has been unstoppable at times. But do you think they relied too heavily on the run game, and that they kind of, I don't want to say took the Chiefs defense lightly, but maybe stuck to the run game a little too much? I know it seemed like there were times that they could have switched it up, maybe whether with a long pass down the field, just something different. But I'm curious to know your thoughts.
Yeah, obviously it's been a weird postseason where they've been so good running the ball that they've kind of used that as like, hey, we don't need to pass the ball because we're so good. But at some point, you kind of figured it. There might be some point in this run here where you're going to need the passing game to take over for you. And it had been a while since they had done that, and they hadn't. Garoppolo only throwing 8 passes in the NFC Championship game was obviously such a big storyline. And he was good early on this game. I think going into the fourth quarter, he was 17 of 20, had that one horrible interception, which is kind of a thing that Garoppolo tends to do. He tends to have one really bad pass per game. But yeah, I think the fact that they hadn't made Garoppolo go out there and really make a ton of plays lately. And I look back at the end of that first half, and I kind of got what Shanahan was doing there when he didn't call timeouts and to allow the 49ers to try to go for a 2-minute drill. But to me, I just wonder what kind of message does that send to your offense, to your quarterback? There are very few teams out there that, if they get the ball back with 1:45 to go, don't view that as an opportunity to take advantage and let's go at least try to get a field goal before halftime. We know we get the ball to start the second half. This is a great opportunity to really help take control of this game. But when they just kind of sat on the ball, didn't call the timeout, let 40 seconds run off before the punt, and then and I was okay with that because I got the fact that they didn't want to give Mahomes too much time in case they went 3 and out. But I thought after their first running play, they probably should have called a timeout then, because at least at that point you're under a minute to go. You're not probably going to give Mahomes a ton of time left. But it kind of spoke to their confidence level in Garoppolo that they didn't trust him to go out there and not turn the ball over. They saw the bad interception he had made earlier, and I think they played a little bit too scared there at the end of the first half.
Yeah, and you know what? I love that you bring up that play at the end of the first half, because honestly, when that play happened, and I know they lost by 11, they didn't lose by 7, but still, that's a game changer. And you talk about the fact that they didn't even give their offense a chance. That could be momentum going into halftime. You get whether it's a field goal or a touchdown, you get points on the board before going into half. You go up into halftime instead of being tied at 10. And I literally said to my family, because I was watching with them, and I was like, watch, let's see if in the end of the game, that play comes back to bite them. And we don't know if they would have scored, but as you mentioned it, you'd like to at least give your offense a chance. And I felt like, especially in the second half, again, the run game has been strong for the 49ers. It's been successful for them in the past. But you need everybody on board. And to have Jimmy Garoppolo not really be a presence in the offense, and then at the end of the first half, not having an attempt to even try to score, it did seem scared at times. Which is a perfect segue into my next question. Of course, Kyle Shanahan's age has been talked about time and time again. He's only 40 years old. He's Kyle. He's not coach. He's not Coach Shanahan. He's just Kyle. And that's been something that's been a strength of the 49ers. They're close with him. They're close to the team. It's like a family. It's like a brotherhood. But, I mean, looking at this, do you feel like at times Andy Reid's been in this position? And we can look back on the last time he was in the Super Bowl and blew it and see that he's learned from it. I know a lot of us Eagles fans have not forgotten. But do you think maybe in a sense we've got a veteran here that's been here before, that's had made these mistakes, that now is playing more aggressive offensively than he had in the past in the Super Bowl, versus Kyle Shanahan, who seemed like he was a little scared that there was some coaching that even was a big decision, like a big game changer, I guess you can say here.
Yeah, I mean it, and obviously you look with Shanahan, he was in the Super Bowl as the offensive coordinator 3 years ago, and saw his team go out to a 28-3 lead, and he, in that situation, kind of stayed aggressive, and it backfired. So you just wonder, was that aggressive nature that he took then? And that was with a quarterback in Matt Ryan, who was an MVP. He had a true number one wide receiver in Julio Jones. He doesn't have that same quarterback wide receiver combination here with the 49ers. But, he will say that he's just he coaches the way he coaches, and he'll probably tell you that wasn't an impact. But I mean, you saw he was accused of being over aggressive in that Super Bowl. And then now the talk in this one is that he was too conservative. So you wonder if there was some course correction there. But I mean, hey, he's 40 years old. Yeah. He has been a play caller now in 2 Super Bowls. That's pretty good experience to build off of. If you look at the way this 49ers team is constructed, if they can keep this together, there's no guarantees that they're going to be able to go on another run and get back to another Super Bowl, just because the windows in the NFL shut quickly. But you gotta imagine that, hey, this is another learning opportunity, and with Garoppolo locked up for a few more years, if he can, he's 28, and so you kind of at this point want him to start taking that next step. But this was the first time that he's been a starter for a full season. So I think the Niners' hope is that they can get him maybe a few more weapons there on the outside, and can continue growing and continue building this defense, and they can get back in this position again, and they can hope for something a little bit different to happen. But I mean, Kyle is getting experience now. He's now experienced 2 heartbreaks, and until he can get over the hump and win a Super Bowl, I think these 2 heartbreaks right now are going to define him a little bit.
Yeah, and unfortunately, a few years back, is still one of the biggest sports, and he's on the wrong side of history, but one of the biggest sports upsets, losses, championship, blown leads, all the categories. It's there, and it's a constant reminder. So, yeah, you wonder how much of that played a factor into it. And we'll never know. Of course, it's easy for us now that the game's over to say what should have happened. But in the moment, because I was even thinking in some of these crunch time moments, like, what do you do? There's so much pressure, and once we know what didn't work, it's easier for us to say what should have been done, but you never know. So yeah, I'm interested to see, as you mentioned, with the future of what's next, how the 49ers respond. And that's my next question to you is, if you're the 49ers and you're going back, of course, there's no guarantee of getting back next year, but you got to the Super Bowl, had a tremendous season. What do you do from here to kind of fill in the gaps and strengthen up your team for next year? Because it's a very solid core group. They've got veterans in Richard Sherman. They've got a tremendously talented rookie class. They've got, all the pieces there. Kyle is he's a great coach. You can't overlook what he's done for the 49ers. So what do you think they need to do to rebuild to be even stronger next year? I think very far ahead right now.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that they probably need is they need somewhat their poor man's version, whatever. They need something that can simulate a Tyreek Hill type. Just that he's a guy that, this is kind of who they hope Dante Pettis would be at one point. Somebody that, they've got some good receiving options. Deebo Samuel obviously had a really good rookie year. I don't know that Emmanuel Sanders will be back in free agency. but they need somebody that can really stretch the field for them vertically because when teams decide that they want to really focus on taking away George Kittle, they can at least limit the damage that he can do. And I mean, you see what the Chiefs have in having a guy like Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins, Mecole Hardman. They have guys that they can run 4 vertical routes and have guys that can just burn your defense all day long. And I think Garoppolo, they kind of go a little bit conservative with the game plans and whatnot, but we've seen when they have asked him to throw the ball deep, he is a pretty good deep ball thrower. So I think if they could find a way, it's the upcoming draft is really deep in the receiver. If they could find that kind of burner, in their late first round pick, might be a way to kind of give Garoppolo that extra weapon that would make this offense a little bit more dynamic because Kyle can scheme up he can scheme up an offense in the passing game, the running game. If you give him that one more weapon, a guy who can go deep on you at any time, any minute, I think that's probably the next step in this offense, and it can be the thing that can make this team a little bit more dynamic and dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the beauty of it is that you do have the opportunity to learn from this. They do have a number of guys that hopefully you never know what's going to happen in the offseason will be back. But more importantly, it kind of shows you that you're right there. You just need to fine tune some things. It's not as drastic as maybe some other teams that need to do a full overhaul. But for the Chiefs, we did also see Chris Jones also was saying yesterday or Sunday, I should say, we'll be back. We're coming back for a repeat. And I know everyone always says that. There's no guarantee you'll be back. Of course, the Patriots always manage to find a way back, but there's never any guarantee to get back. For the Kansas City Chiefs to repeat as Super Bowl champs, they obviously have overcome a number of hurdles, deficits, score deficits, injuries, whatever it may be. But what's it going to take for them to really get back to this spot and truly actually repeat, in your opinion?
I mean, I think they're in a great position just because, I mean, obviously Patrick Mahomes is a guy that can really wipe away any deficit. I mean, they have those. If they stay healthy, there's no reason they shouldn't be, right back in the mix, for the next several years, you would think. And I mean, we're possibly entering a period where the AFC, doesn't necessarily run through the Patriots anymore. If Tom Brady were to leave New England, even if he doesn't, you saw the cracks in their team coming apart a little bit this year. You feel like Mahomes is probably destined to be the guy that for the next 10 years is the, maybe even longer, is the quarterback that you fear more than anybody else in the AFC. It's going to be fun to kind of see him and Lamar Jackson go at it. Every year probably those are going to be first place teams that are going to be beaten every year in some big matchups, and it feels like we're sitting in a period where the next 3-4 years is going to be the Chiefs and the Ravens as the two dominant teams in the AFC, which should be some fun games. I kind of wish we could have seen that as the AFC Championship game this year. That was a little bit disappointing that the Ravens went out early and we didn't get that. But I think as long as the Chiefs stay healthy, I think they opened up as already the betting favorites to win the title again next year. They're just so well positioned with such a dynamic offense and a defense that Chris Jones is a free agent, and a lot of teams will be going after him. I don't know if they'll be able to keep him, but as long as, like I said, as long as they can be competent on defense, they don't have to be, they don't have to be great. They just need to be competent with as good as that offense is.
Yes, that's. Oh, I know. I kept thinking after the Ravens got knocked out, thinking what would that Chiefs Ravens game be like? And I was anticipating that as well, thinking it's going to be a shootout. It's going to be two of the best quarterbacks. But I think what you say in the big picture is really what we're seeing moving forward is that it's a change in the league right now. It's no longer Tom Brady and the Patriots at the top of the league and everyone else trying to keep up. We've got the next generation and they're here. Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, these quarterbacks, these young quarterbacks that under 25 age group is a force to be reckoned with. And it's exciting because there is now going to be a new fight, especially in the AFC. The Ravens and Chiefs, as you mentioned, if all goes well, we can never predict. We don't know what the future is going to hold injury-wise, trades, whatever else. if everybody continues on the path they're on right now, whew, it's going to be fun to watch for a few years. So I am excited for it. And I definitely want to know, everyone looks forward to the Super Bowl for many different reasons. Your most exciting or your favorite moment from the Super Bowl? Curious to know.
Hmm. Um, you
Doesn't
know,
have to be just football. It could be a commercial, the halftime show, the
I,
anthem.
I tend to tune out mostly during the commercials. Like that's the time to like scroll through Twitter and stuff and try to pay attention a little bit. But no, I mean honestly, I think seeing Andy Reid after just
Mhm.
getting to see him celebrate, just when you see a coach that's been at it for that long and kind of has that monkey on his back, and I think win or lose, I think he's a Hall of Fame coach. He's been so good for so long, but I think getting to see him enjoy that moment. That's always pretty cool, and him and Mahomes. The two, I mean, Mahomes is probably my favorite player in the league to watch. He's just been so fun ever since he stormed into this league. The way he plays and just the kind of the guy he is on and off the field. Those are two guys that if you're just a football fan and not a diehard of any particular team, it's hard not to root for both of those guys. So I think getting to see them enjoy that moment was pretty special.
Yeah, I agree. It's always exciting to see someone new be able to win a Super Bowl or any championship in any sport, especially when it's someone like Andy Reid, who all he's been through over the years, on and off the field. To see him be able to have that moment, his wife is there, the team is. They're saying this was for Andy. It's so touching and so great to see. But there are a lot of good moments. I also tune out during commercials, or I try to watch the commercials, but I find myself like, when am I supposed to tune out? Because
Yeah.
I watch the game closely and I watch the commercials and the halftime show. I'm like, when can I get food or go to the bathroom or check Twitter? But that next 100 commercial at the beginning of the game gave me chills.
Yeah,
Like
that
running onto
that
the
that one was
field,
really
I was screaming.
Yeah, that one was really cool. That was they did a good job with that, and then I kind of went back and read the backstory of the kid that was involved in that. When a guy I know that works for ESPN had done a story on him 2 years ago that he as him as this next big recruit at like 10 years old getting scholarship offers. So
No
be kind of cool to
way.
yeah. So it'd be kind of cool that he's a kid that's been kind of getting tracked as a football player for a while. So it'd actually be kind of cool to follow his story and see where he ends up. And I mean, just thinking ahead. I mean, imagine if 10 years from now we're watching that kid who everybody remembers as
Oh
just
my
that kid from the commercial. It'll be kind of fun to maybe 10 years from now think back and like, hey, look at that kid playing in the Super Bowl. So we'll have to kind of follow his career. I forget his name off the top of my head, but yeah, it'll be pretty cool to see what his career ends up being like after that.
Wow. Then I'm sure his name at some point will be a household name. Right now, he's the kid from the Super Bowl commercial, but the next 100
Ma-
commercial, I had no idea.
Maxwell
And I
Bunchy
was,
Young.
what's it?
Maxwell Bunchy Young.
I
That's
don't even have
that's
a
his name.
name that's like unique
Yeah.
and
Yep. Has a nickname, Bunchy.
oh my goodness, he's all set. I was
Yep.
watching him run through the commercial and I'm like, wait a minute. This isn't a stunt double. He's actually doing this. He actually and I was thinking in my head like, where'd they get this kid from? He looks really fast to me. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, that's incredible. And you know what? Even watching that, they had Carly Lloyd was kicking. They had female kickers. They had the next group of kids. I'm like all these different things. Oh, I love it. It's incredible. And then the halftime show is great, but
Yeah.
not sure if you're a Shakira and J-Lo fan, but I was screaming, going crazy watching that too.
Yeah.
So,
That was good.
I loved it because Giannis from the Milwaukee Bucks shifting into basketball. I don't know if you saw his tweet. He was like,
Yes,
that
I
halftime
did.
show
I
almost
almost
got
got him
me
in
in
trouble.
trouble. I was like, I think that halftime show almost got a lot of people into trouble. They are beautiful. They're 43 and 50. They don't even look it. They're still dancing and singing and moving like they're in their 20s. I was just watching In Living Color earlier that day, not to sidebar, and I was like, J-Lo. And so watching her later, that was a 93 episode, and here we are in 2020. I'm like, she looks prettier now, actually.
Yeah.
Gosh, I hope we all can age like that. But Jimmy Durkin, thank you so much for joining the show. Where can our listeners follow you on social media to keep up with all your work with The Athletic?
Yeah, I'm at Jimmy_Durkin, Durkin.
Perfect. It's been a pleasure having you here on Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington. I'm so glad that you were able to join us to recap the Super Bowl. I hope you enjoyed it just as much as I did, and thanks for joining us.
All right, thanks a lot for having me.